Welcome to the Popcorn Talk Network, for the online broadcast network that features movie discussion, news, and interviews. Press 1.
Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
Congratulations. On behalf of the Popcorn Talk Network, the online broadcast network for movie talk, and the Schmoes know, you are now a member of the Jedi Alliance. May the Force be with you, always.
Hello there, and welcome to Jedi Alliance's celebration of the greatest saga ever told, and soon there will be even more saga to celebrate. Today we're going to be talking about big Star Wars news, we're going to be taking some fan questions as always, and our main topic will be, how should Star Wars be like the Marvel movies? What can they learn from the amazing job that Marvel has done, getting us all addicted to those movies like they were drugs? I am one of your co-hosts. My name is Joseph Scrimshaw. Here with me as always is your other co-host.
The internet's Mark Donica. Today the B stands for Benicio. We're going to be talking about a lot of different news, but we have some wonderful guests here from our very prestigious Popcorn Talk Networks. I almost said DC movie news because what you said earlier, Marvel movie news. Yeah. We have Matt Key and Zach Wilson. Hey, howdy, y'all. If in case the fans don't know you, which they should, shame on you. Let them know where they can find you on social media.
I am at the Matt Key on Twitter and the Marvel movie news, like you said.
Yeah, and I am at that Zach Wilson.
Cool. So we always start out by asking our guests just some general Star Wars-y questions.
Oh, man.
We've been talking about not like trivia, don't worry.
The Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, how many figures does a wub have? We've been talking about just kind of general experiences of The Force Awakens. Mm-hmm. So, you guys are big Marvel fans. I know you're a Doctor Who fan. You're Star Wars fans, but not like super uber Star Wars fans. Yeah. Is that right?
I'm a big Star Wars fan. I haven't invested in it the way that I have with Marvel. I've only seen the films a few times, not 1,000 times.
Yeah. And how about you, Zach?
Star Wars for me is I would equate it to breathing in a way that I'm not always thinking about it, but it's just always there. I've never questioned that Star Wars is just a part of
That's great.
existence.
So Star Wars to you is like a pop song. It's the air you breathe. That's great.
It sounds bad almost, but yes.
No, I meant it as a compliment. No, I think that's great. I think in general in our current geek culture, and specifically for people like us that host shows, we start to get to this level of I don't want to say I'm a fan. I've only been a fan for decades, and I've seen the movies only 3 times. I think our vision starts to get skewed when we invest in I am Marvel guy, I am Star Wars guy.
That is very true. Yeah.
So you guys certainly seem like fans. And there's no tests to be passed here on Jedi Alliance.
Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. But I would fail.
I wanted to ask you about your Force Awakens experience. Tell me about your first time seeing it.
The first time we saw it was I was with my fiancee Brittany Wallach, and she and I ended up going with a few other friends to the El Cap. We went and saw it at the El Capitan. Nice. We saw the very first screening that they ever did at the El Cap on Thursday night. What would that have been, the 17th, I guess?
Yeah.
And it was, they had the laser light show and everything, and they played the music, and they had the organist out there playing all their and it was just that starts up and the and you're just don't cry, this is amazing, don't cry. And as I'm saying that, Brittany is oh my god, this is amazing, oh my god. We haven't even seen the scroll yet. It's just and she's oh, I'm so excited, this is amazing. And yeah, we left the theater just invigorated. And what was funny about that is we got those tickets for free from a friend who had them through Disney. And then we already had our tickets for opening night on Friday night, so we saw it 2 nights in a row without having planned that. But it's just when you're a nerd in Los Angeles, that stuff just kind of gets thrown at you, Yeah. So yeah.
And did you actually weep at any point during the film?
I did not. No, I did not. But I like I said, Brittany did.
Pretty much throughout.
Oh, she never stops.
Nice.
No. Just the beginning.
Just that big heart punch.
I feel maybe that everyone on watching this show has seen the movie. I'm not spoiling.
You're fine. You're fine.
I just want to be safe. But the death of Han did not elicit tears in us, but seeing Chewie for the first time, just kind of over in a corner, sad, was just oh no.
Yeah. A lot of people cried for Chewie. Cried with you. Yeah. How about you, Zach? What was your experience seeing it?
I had to delay buying tickets due to just not knowing where I was going to be at the time.
Okay.
So I was one of the people who went to a 5:30 a.m. Friday morning screening.
Nice.
Because I was determined to see it in IMAX. I refused to step down. So I went 5:30 in the morning, drove out to Woodland Hills with my buddy Greg and Stephen Lemieux, our exec producer, and saw it that way, saw it again the next day. And then I was talking about it on Popcorn Talk on the Anatomy of a Movie Sunday.
Nice.
Just Star Wars all
Star Wars. And did you weep at any point in your experience?
I did
Just
not.
when your alarm went off on Thursday morning.
I remember I set my alarm to play the Star Wars theme because it got
Because
me.
you needed to remind yourself while you were getting up.
That makes me want to cry.
I got moving.
It's so nice.
But I didn't actually weep. But the closest I came was seeing Leia when Rey gets off the ship.
Yeah.
After Han's death. Han's death didn't make me weep, but seeing Leia's reaction, that made me that was the closest I got.
That's cool. We're hearing that a lot of not the actual moment of Han's death, but then all of the aftermath.
How it affects
weep-worthy.
people, because Han seemed to be ready to accept it. Now we're getting back into Force Awakens talk, but Han seemed ready to accept it, but everybody else wasn't quite ready. So you get to see those different emotions.
And you have that back history also. You've got three entire films of them having all these adventures and emotional ins and outs, and the whole I love you, I know. You've got that. And so you're invested in that relationship, and now one of those two icons is dead.
Not there anymore.
So you've got Chewie and you've got Leia. Those are his two main squeezes, and
the biggest thing I could say about Force Awakens for me was that I just watched the whole thing with a big dopey grin on my face.
Well, for the first time being IMAX, arguably the best way to see the film. I would say other than El Capitan. If it was El Capitan IMAX or was it just standard? Okay, because I figured they'd have
El Capitan's a very nice screen. Though.
Yeah, and a very nice experience.
Yeah.
But IMAX 3D is still just wow.
Well, and the fans that go to El Capitan typically tend to we see anytime a Marvel movie comes out there, that's where we go see it.
Have you seen a Disney movie there yet?
Yeah, we saw Frozen there. It was
Me
fun.
too.
It was fun. They had all the ice sculptures and they had the ice carving and everything. Yeah, no, El Capitan is amazing. That's really good theater.
Now that Star Wars fans, Marvel fans, and Disney fans all have kind of a haven in downtown LA to just be let's all be nerds together. It's great.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And a lot of tourists together, too.
Yeah. I will say, with The Force Awakens, that was great. Was I went, it was around Christmas time, so I went back home to be with my family in Texas, and I got to go see Force Awakens with my 5-year-old nephew and 8-year-old niece, and that was their first time seeing a Star Wars film in the theater.
Yeah.
And they had just maybe 5 weeks before seen all of the Star Wars films. They'd never seen them before. Wow. So they were just losing their minds over Star Wars just in general. Didn't they go see it on the big screen and everything? They were, but my little 5-year-old nephew was sitting, he barely fits in the seat anyway, but he's sitting on the edge of the seat, just his feet dangling, just watching everything. And every once in a while, a cool thing would happen. He'd turn and look at me and be and I'd be yeah, it's awesome.
Confirmation.
That's the way I watch it with my wife.
It's cool, right?
And then, but then to have my little niece turn the very first words out of her mouth when I said, I was so Caitlin, did you like it? She said, Rey is so strong, I want to be like her. And I was oh. Yeah. Mary Sue or not, screw that. Done.
Yeah, no Mary Sue. No Mary Sue. No. Well, that's great. Thank you guys for sharing your Force Awakens memories. We're super thrilled to have you as guests. Should we get into the news?
We should. Let's go to news from the Holonet. Literally burning a hole in everybody's internet announced this morning the beginning of principal photography for Star Wars Episode 8. And we got new cast members announced. First, let's take a look at that first shot. It's going to
those aren't new cast members, by the way.
Those aren't new cast members, no. Yeah. We have a continuation of the scene that ended Episode 7. We're going to see a little bit more. Hopefully, we're going to see a lot more of this scene. And Mark Hamill just looks absolutely stern.
Yeah.
He looks hungry.
A little emaciated in the cheeks.
Well, it looks like she's got a fried chicken leg, and he's just I want it. I want that fried chicken leg.
It's like a cartoon character on a deserted island. Everything just turns into food.
Yeah, I want that chicken leg. I'm so hungry.
I'm sure when Rian Johnson and the team at Lucasfilm put this together, expecting geeks to get excited, we did not expect them to just be hungry for fried chicken.
That's all I can see now.
I'm sorry. That was the first thing I thought of when I saw it this morning. I was Oh, poor Mark Hamill looks so hungry. He's been on that island for so long and with nothing but grass to eat.
Well, hungry and thirsty are being used in lots of different ways in our current cultural context. So who knows?
Oh, jeez.
Who knows what he is wanting? I find the little trailer interesting. It's really exciting, gets people excited. But it's ambiguous whether the footage actually means we're going to get more of this exact moment, or if that's just sort of some alternate takes that Rian Johnson was present for.
Possibly. I mean, while they have the location, they could have just easily transitioned from one to another. But the fact that it was on the same, they would maintain the same island, and there were notices of reshoots on this island like months ago. It's got to be new stuff. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it stands to reason. Like, why else would they show us this? In theory, they could have staged the entire thing with 50, 100 people standing around on this.
Well,
set.
yeah, it's not that the actual shot of Rian Johnson in this trailer is saying, and that's a wrap. It's been so hotly debated, at least in our little show, in our little minds, of whether or not we're going to get to see more of that scene that we left with. Because I think everybody walked out of the theater going like, "What's Luke going to say? What's Rey going to say?" But that's not the Star Wars way to start right where you left off. So that's what's really interesting to me about this teaser is. Traditional Star Wars, there's no room for the scroll if some stuff hasn't happened. So it's really interesting that they started with this shot, because how are we going to get to see that if they follow the normal Star Wars tradition of jumping forward in time?
Like 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought
Well,
of
but
that.
I guess, but like structurally, I guess I've never done like a flashback or anything like that.
No, but they might be doing new stuff. So that's what's really exciting about the fact that they chose this footage.
I feel like they have to include this in it, because like to release this and be like production has started and then to not have that in the movie, I think the fans would be like no, we were expecting, like, we wanted this,
we were told that we would get hungry Luke Skywalker.
It could be as simple as, we didn't get, in Force Awakens we didn't get like a true flashback, but we did sort of in the scene
Force
with
vision.
the
We got a
Force
vision. We got a different vision, and we've had visions before in prequels and
this,
that. Yeah,
this could be that. It could just be a piece of another Force vision, so that we could just, all they needed was 2 shots of it, and then like, hey, we shot that first so that we could tease this thing. And they just that's a simple way to order things if you're gonna have to get it.
What if? Hear me out. They're doing web shorts.
Well, I would be thrilled.
Like leading up to episode 8. What is that, next year? Because it's Rogue One this year.
It's Rogue this one,
So next year is episode 8. Like a year of just like monthly web shorts that show like,
here's what happened
Luke
in
and Rey.
Increasingly long pauses in the conversation where they don't say anything to one another. That would
like
be
an episode of Dragon Ball Z.
maddening.
The entire film is going to be released on Snapchat.
And if you assemble it in order, you get the entire film early. But also, one of the other big stories to come out today was our new cast members. And we have Laura Dern, Benicio del Toro, and Kelly Marie Tran. As time has been going on from hearing the initial announcement, really excited that Laura Dern is a part of the Star Wars universe, because she's awesome. And Benicio has been a long-rumored member of this cast, only to be confirmed now. And Kelly Marie Tran is traditionally in a lot of comedic roles. So what do we expect from these 3?
Where do we know her from?
Off the top of my head, do not know.
She's in like some commercials doing comedy stuff. She's been in a lot of kind of like LA centric comedy. She's appeared on Comedy Bang Bang, the TV show version, and in a bunch of other little sort of comedy appearances of that sort of ilk.
So more or less unknown.
More, yeah. I think people in the LA comedy scene probably know her.
Yeah,
in the big picture.
Wide scheme. Unknown.
Yeah, and people have been theorizing that her role is one of the ones that we got a lot of rumors about. A lot more young actresses trying out for that were of a different type, of the more traditional sort of starlet action hero type. And the fact that role is maybe now comedic is pretty awesome.
It feels like that kind of role typically goes to like sort of like a more fantastic character, like an alien character. I would imagine if she is with like the Resistance or the Rebels, I think she's probably going to be like almost like a CGI character, or like a lot of like CG elements to her.
Yeah, like maybe we like have like a Twi'lek join the team.
Yeah,
or something like just I'm picking
So you guys have a bias that comedians need to be aliens or
No.
CGI. Is that what you're saying?
No, not a bias at all. But I will point out that this picture looks like it was taken the exact moment she found out she was cast in episode 8.
Yeah. If you're
By the way,
listening on
Kelly,
iTunes, we have Laura Dern looking just like she's stepped off the red carpet. We have a very serious Benicio del Toro, and then Kelly Marie Tran kind of looks like a human emoji of happiness.
Yeah.
Just exploding with joy.
Oh yeah. I would be standing amidst the rubble of my living room that I had just destroyed out of pure joy, just like I can't take
Like a
it.
Tommy Wiseau room destruction.
Yeah.
My thought is like if just building on our theories, so like getting from like 1 to 8 or like A to G. Just follow me here, Mark.
I'm going with you.
Yeah, we're
like
doing our
if
best.
she is like if we're following the same thing where there are like patterns within the Marvel universe, or oh my god,
We're not there yet. We'll get there.
Star Wars. There's a lot written on my notepad. If we're following the patterns that Star Wars had from like the same team makeup with like stuff shuffled, if Chewie doesn't stick with our team, then in theory you would have an alien of some kind.
Yeah.
As part of the core team. So
Yeah.
if we did have, and she's the only one of these three that's really young enough to join the team as like
Interesting.
as a member on the same like level of experience and and all that, then it adds up. You have your new droid, you have a new alien, and you have 3 humans running around.
I disagree with your premise that there's going to be a Chewie hole, but besides that, I think the logic
Never
is
say that expression again. Please.
Absolutely.
I don't want Chewie. I want to be clear. I don't want Chewie to go anywhere.
No.
I love
We
Chewie.
understand. We understand.
Understand the possibility.
Yeah. What do you guys want to see Laura Dern doing?
She looks like she would be a great diplomat.
I want her
Yeah.
to be the member of the
New
Alliance,
Republic?
the New Republic that her and Leia have been going back and forth about. This is why the Resistance can't be a thing. I want her to be the figurehead that is anti-resistance, or at least like pro peace in the galaxy from a government standpoint.
So you want her to have been like a surviving member of the Republic that got blown up on Hosnian Prime?
Yeah.
Cool.
Would that be like? Sorry, I just finished reading Lost Stars, so there's a lot of like random names flowing around in my head. Would that be Mon Mothma?
No. Mon Mothma would be much older than Laura Dern.
Okay.
Unless
Yeah,
you
yeah.
also want to put Laura Dern in makeup. Then, I mean, I feel like she is so well cast as a diplomat. There's a part of me that wants to see her as something else, like just like a strange alien. I'd almost like to see her in CGI or makeup to just kind of do something really different with her experience and her gravitas as an actor. It was news to me that the confirmation that Lupita Nyong'o is returning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was news to me that Maz is for sure returning. I mean, I know that there was a Kathleen Kennedy sort of like, yep, all these people on the stage will be back, but it hadn't been. I hadn't heard it anywhere absolutely for sure confirmed.
Okay. I mean, I that wasn't a part of the big news for me, because like as with the rewrites of what characters hit and what didn't, and possibly restructuring all of the movies, Maz seemed like a surefire. Oh no, she's coming back.
Yeah, no, I
She's
agree
too
with
much
you.
of a
I'm
storyteller.
excited about the confirmation.
Definitely. I can agree with that.
Especially with
So-
the stuff they cut out of Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So who do we think Benicio is? First of all, is he good guy or bad guy?
Well, he
What do you
has,
think?
he has said, he accidentally said that I'm a bad guy, and
Oh,
then people said, should you be saying that? Like the reporters basically said, like, didn't you just screw up? Didn't you just allow
then
us
he
to
said,
bait you? And he's like,
probably not.
damn, I kind of
probably
did.
Shouldn't have said that.
And then the next time he's like, I'm not supposed to say, but I did already. I'm a villain. Leave me alone. So people are trying to guess whether he is screwing up or faking it out or double, triple faking out. But villain seems pretty likely at this point.
I'd say at the very least he'd be writing the line. At the very least.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be an amazing villain too, because like you want your heroes to be up against like high stakes,
Totally.
like emotional stakes and just like dramatic stakes and everything. And he's the guy who can bring that sort of like level to like that performance. So
What I would love from him, and it's something that you've just seen from him as an actor, is the like for him to really walk that gray line that like Star Wars doesn't do a lot of. They tend to like Star Wars, like for better or worse, like tends to be more black and white than a lot of modern movies.
Well, I think it used to be, and it is not at all kind of
It started
in
to
this
go
new
in
era. The books like Lost Stars are full of the discussion
exactly.
of the gray, and I think The Force Awakens already started that discussion.
It started going down that path. I would love to see him as a character who embraces, or like spiritually embraces that mentality of like, maybe he's not really a bad guy. He has either bad methods towards a good thing.
So he's like the Punisher of the Jedi universe.
Yeah.
He does good things with bad intent or bad things with good intent.
Yeah. Something like that makes us question, because he's an you need a good actor to pull that off.
Right.
It's very easy for an actor to go be the mythical hero or to be the evil villain, but to walk that middle line is a lot trickier.
Yeah, I think he's just going to be viciously, violently evil. That's what I think. But with a charming twinkle in his eye.
So he's Space Wolf Man.
Yeah, we got a lot of news to get through.
We
so
do.
We
So
should
let's move through some of the rest of this, which are just kind of updates. It was announced at the end of last week that Star Wars Headspace, a new EDM, that's electronic dance music for those of you who aren't in the lingo know, produced by Rick Rubin, is going to be announced digitally February 19th, that is this Friday if you're listening live, and March 18th physical, which seems kind of against the whole idea of the thing.
Physical dance music.
But we've got a little bit of a track here by Roixop that we're going to play a little bit under. So the idea behind the record is Star Wars let their sound effect and audio cues out to all of these different artists and said, have fun, go. Do you want to see any other type of entertainment avenues get that similar kind of access? Or do you think this is sort of like a right place, right time sort of thing?
I feel like this is totally a right place, right time. And in the past, Star Wars has certainly done this. Like, way back in the late 90s, early 2000s, Lucas opened up like the fan film competition.
Yeah.
And I think they've always had an era of like, let's find a way to legally within Star Wars world share assets so people can kind of experiment and make their own thing. And this seems like a great evolution of what they'd always done.
Totally. Jets?
Yeah, I'm on board, honestly. Like Star Wars is such just a part of the culture at this point. Like it's invaded every part of like society in some form. Like, down to 7-Eleven cups. Like it's everywhere.
Sweet cups.
Sweet cups.
And I have no problem with that. I mean, just like license it out. Like let people have some control over it. I guess like here and there, but throw everything against the wall.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Star Wars is already so everywhere. It's hard to say like where else could we put it. It's like, oh, I'd love to see it in a video game. No, wait, no, it's already there. It's like, it's already so. If they weren't making Legos, I would say Legos, but they're already making that. So I mean, there's Star Wars everything. So this is like a last frontier where the license hasn't really been allowed to like actually like sample. Like sound effects and
as long as they set the right
dialogue and
the right guidelines, which they seem to have done with this as well as several other avenues. As long as they set the right guidelines, they can maintain the control and people are free to create, and that's fun. And you get a fun product that this really came out of the blue, and I'm excited to download it on Friday. A lot of the bonus track or a lot of the sample tracks have been really cool.
Yeah, I was really excited that when you started the music and you were reading, all three of us danced and we were not in rhythm with one another at all. And I'm going to enjoy watching it later on the video.
Oh yeah. Somebody gift that.
Funny you should say Legos because we have 2 Lego stories. It's like you're a host of a show or something.
It is.
Our next
so
story, debuting tonight. If you're watching live, is the Lego Star Wars Resistance Rises first short called Poe Dameron to the Rescue. There's a little bit of a trailer up on Disney XD. So these shorts are going to follow Poe, Kylo Ren, Han Solo, Finn, Rey, BB-8, and Maz Kanata. Some of the cast sounds like they've returned, like Anthony Daniels. It sounds like Gwendolyn Christie or really good voice clone.
Wow. Wow.
Is
well done.
Voicing
well done.
I do what I can. Voicing Captain Phasma, and with enough distortion, Kylo Ren could be Adam Driver, could be somebody else, we don't know. But the trailer looks a lot of fun. It's going to debut tonight with the Gravity Falls finale. Do you think any canon is going to come out of these shorts, or is it just going to be fun time in Legoville?
I
It's
feel
gonna
like
be fun.
maybe an event could be canon, but I mean, Lego does such a great job with all of the funny lines and like the parts where like, oh, well, some of the characters just suddenly fall apart. It can't be canon that like, well, there was a weird space disease and Admiral Akbar turned into Legos and fell apart. Yeah, but besides that.
I don't think it can. I don't think it can be canon. I think they might play with it. I think we might get like a hint at like future story like things, but like not, even then, like in anything that they do in that event, that space is going to be, I think, probably mostly minimal.
Yeah, they're going to be. I think
It'll
especially
be like Akbar has a wife, huh? And then like in episode 8, it's like, oh no, there she is. It's
my
like,
wife!
And she's still in Legos. She's still in Legos.
when she tells you to put your dishes away. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they're really going to build anything. And when they're so controlling, especially at Disney, with like being careful about like leaks and potential spoilers and all that, that like I don't think that they would let them. Like even if they if they started to veer close to what was happening in episode 8 or 9, they'd be like, whoa, let's do this other thing.
Oh, yeah, that's not a problem. I think the weird thing about it is that there has been so much, I think, good work put in by the story group to about what canon is in the books and the comics and making it work with the movies, and so much the whole journey to The Force Awakens, where you got to meet little side characters that popped up the movie or even got edited out of the movie, that it's then weird to have this flood after being like a Star Wars fan who's like picking through what is canon, what isn't canon, and then hey, Lego craziness everywhere. but canon.
But speaking of more of that, a new Lego Star Wars series called The Freemaker Adventures got announced for Disney XD, and the idea is the story takes place in between Empire and Jedi, and the youngest of this group, known only as the Freemakers, finds a relic called the Kyber Saber, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Joseph, isn't a kyber crystal like the standard?
Yeah, it's how the lightsabers get their power.
Okay, that's what I figured. But they're treating it with like a bigger regard, maybe just because they're so rare in this time.
I think that if there was going to be a spoiler for any of the two series, I think it would probably be more this than the other one. Like the other one is like, here's fun, wacky adventures, and this is going to be the same thing, but like this is like dabbling with more of the established universe. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, there's like more like establishment sorts of stuff that they're playing with in this particular series than they would be in the other one. And with us kind of diving back into Rogue One, and then there being like a Han Solo prequel sort of movie, like, and all that stuff, like I feel like this is one of those where it could be a little bit trickier step.
There could be a detail in this that they just haven't really, they've decided on, like this happened between these two movies.
Yeah.
But we haven't dealt with it yet, so we're just not dealing with it because it's not needed. If you're going forward past Force Awakens, then yeah, it's all just silliness. But like this could have, you could find that little nugget of like, yeah, use it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the future of the movies.
They could confirm some Legends material in here, like they've been doing in Rebels.
I think the interesting thing to me with this is that the Freemaker are a group or family of scavengers, and I liked how the Force Awakens kind of introduced the idea of scavenger, that's sort of a new class of character in Star Wars. Like we used to have bounty hunters and rogues and Jedis and politicians, and even the way people talk to Rey of like, oh, she's a scavenger. Like everybody in the galaxy knows that's one of the things you can be. So it almost seems more like they're kind of starting to blend.
There are only about
like
8 career tracks.
Yeah, it's like you can go to college to be like a scavenger. Like
There's scavenger classes.
My night courses.
Yeah, I got my PhD in scavenging. I'm Dr. Scavenger, thank you.
A lot of fun coming from the Lego Star Wars line, and definitely a lot more toys. And a lot more expensive toys at that.
Lego kills it, man. Like they're
no matter what.
Like the Marvel Avengers game, like we're playing, like we're about 30% of the way through that, and it is just bonkers fun.
I can't wait. There's going to be a Civil War and an Ant-Man coming out for the PS4, but that's a different show for a different time. Yeah,
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, that's a different show for a different time. Marvel movie news. So our last little story, I mostly included this because I wanted to make this thumbnail. So the winter 2017 slate has become cleared. We reported a couple weeks ago that Avatar 2 got out of there, and now it was reported earlier this week that Ready Player One from Mr. Steven Spielberg there, great book by the way, also cleared out of the winter 2017
they
slot.
both flinched.
They
Oh,
both
yeah, yeah,
flinched.
yeah.
So now Ready Player One is coming out in spring 2018. Has the movement of these two... Thank you for pointing... I made it small so that nobody would see my crappy Photoshop, but I appreciate that. Has the movement of these two movies cemented Star Wars as the winter blockbuster?
Yes and no. I think in terms of like going past 2018, it'll be up to Rogue One to cement that. Because otherwise, yes, 8 and 9 are like don't go anywhere near it. But like if Rogue One doesn't do like the massive numbers that people are going to be expecting of it, then those off years between the main chapters will be a little safer.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I can get behind that. I mean, like I'm very excited for Rogue One, but I'm more invested in the in Episode 8 just because it's like, well, I want to know what's happening with Rey. I want to know what this story is, and I don't have that same level of like narrative investment.
Yeah, exactly.
For Rogue One, I'm excited about it. I will go see it opening weekend.
Yeah, I will be there at 5:30 a.m.
I mean, that's the thing with a lot of us in the nerd subcultures is, dude, that trailer for Batman Superman, I am not interested. I'm going to be there on opening day, but I am not going to enjoy it.
I think Rogue One is going to surprise. I don't think it will absolutely do anywhere near The Force Awakens because I think Rogue One is going to surprise. There won't be enough money in
the world.
There's not enough money. Yeah, we've bought too many Legos. We can't see that movie. But I think it's going to surprise people because I think as it gets closer, the campaign to educate non-super obsessed people about what this movie is going to be surprising when they manage to get just kind of casual fans to go, oh, it's a Star Wars movie, but it's not like the main characters aren't Jedi, and it's kind of a war movie, and it's kind of a crime heist. Cool. I think it's going to end up doing bigger numbers than we expect. Yep. And if it goes really huge, I think it might just say, like, Star Wars now owns the winter.
Yeah, like, don't try. Like, release it around Thanksgiving.
Unless you're Alvin and the Chipmunks Road Trip or whatever the fifth one's going to be. Like, there's going to be a kids movie, a history movie, and maybe a musical. But aside from that,
I remember
counter program.
So the second night we went to go see Force Awakens, there was a family in front of me, and they get up and they're like, we'd like to have 3 for Alvin and the Chipmunks and 2 for Star Wars. And I was just like, wait, what? Alvin and the, like, people are actually seeing this on the same. Okay.
So, all right, kids, you go to yours, we'll go to ours.
I think that's the most fascinating thing is to think about what active counter programming. Like, I think somebody should just release a film called I Hate Star Wars, just as the most active to see if they can drain people who don't want so much Star Wars, the few people that are out there who prefer Road Chip.
Or it'll be when Spaceballs 2 gets released. We'll be in that same season. And just as a quick update, $2 billion worldwide for Star Wars. The Force Awakens, still not enough to dethrone Avatar 1. So what I'm going to suggest is, even if you don't have time to go see the movie, buy tickets. Just donate to Star Wars taking over Avatar by buying an IMAX ticket or buying any sort of a ticket near you so that we can get closer to that goal. Thank you. That has been News from the Holiday.
Awesome. We're going to jump into our main topic, friends. Should Star Wars be more like Marvel? So just want to kick it off. I've pasted with blatantly bad Photoshop. I've pasted Yoda's head onto the Hulk. In this joining of fandoms.
Smash or do not?
The answer is always going to be smash, right?
There's always smash.
It would be Smash Yoda, right?
Yoda, meditate!
Do you guys think, just as a starting point for our conversation, do you think that Star Wars should try to build as connected of a story as Marvel has with their films? You first, Matt.
I think that they are. The original trilogy was like the original connected universe. Like, they were the original cinematic universe. I think that's one reason that they stick out the way that they do. I think that's one reason they have embedded themselves in our culture, because it wasn't just like here's a movie. Oh, and that did good. Here's a sequel.
Right.
This was planned. We planned to do 3. George Lucas had, as far as I understand it, had the ideas for the prequels, had the ideas for the movies after. Like, he had this entire grand scheme that he wanted to do. I think they were pre-Marvel. I think they were Marvel before Marvel was. I think Marvel almost took a book from them in some ways and said, hey, that Star Wars thing, like, that was a whole thing. We should do that. You know, then there's stuff like the Terminator, Terminator 2. Those are sequels. They're connected. They're good. You know, but I feel like. Yeah, I feel like they already are kind of that, and I feel like they're kind of what they're doing now with like Rogue One and stuff like that. Now they're playing with the sandbox that they've already made.
Right, and I think the question comes in there of certainly Star Wars really broke the barriers on sequels as one continuing story. And the sagas are established as one continuing story, and for decades we knew what sequels were. And then Marvel took that farther of, you can just go see Captain America and you can just go see Thor, but once you start going to all of them, we're building up this little shared universe. Not necessarily a shared story, kind of a shared story, but not all of that.
Yeah.
So as they're branching out into, we want people to go see Rogue One, we want people to see Han Solo, and then whatever else comes, like within that world, are they going to build the kind of thing that Marvel has right now?
There's a key difference, I think, to the way that people enjoy each of the two worlds. Because Star Wars, every piece of the expanded universe, whether it was the Legends or the current expanded universe, all flows from one basic story, more or less. It's this war that's either between the Rebels and the Empire, the New Resistance, or the Resistance / the New Republic.
The New Resistance, I think, is like 2045.
And the First Order.
New Resistance sounds like a post-punk
that's going to be the next EDM album for sure. Yeah.
Or just Jedi versus Sith. Like, it all boils down to like a war that is like between some of these factions, and the expanded universe stories sort of build away from that. Whereas Marvel is a series of characters all existing in the same world and living their own lives, and their stories don't necessarily react to each other. They are completely separate, and then occasionally come together for one big thing. Whereas Star Wars is the reverse. It's one big thing and then things branching off of it. If they try to go in too quickly into the so separate, because Star Wars is this amazing universe that they've constructed, that you could just go down to like Coruscant and like run a story about a bar,
right?
Wasn't that was George Lucas's live action?
You're making it sound like he was going to make Cheers in space, which we've talked about on this show and want to see as a show. We've pitched several times.
But that's the thing. It's like you could do that, but it would be too jarring for Star Wars fans because the way that people enjoy,
tone.
and even if it's not a comedy, like just branching off from it too far will be too weird for people who love Star Wars because of the way that people enjoy that stuff. Like I mentioned, Lost Stars. That book is great and it's fun to read because it ties into this main story. But like Marvel's offshoots, like S.H.I.E.L.D. occasionally like references it,
right?
But it is for the most part just following its own path.
Right, and I think you're making really great points about what exists now. But I think what is interesting to me is they're owned by the same company. They have had unprecedented success with Marvel with finding a way to make them interconnected. The saga films will probably always be a little bit separate, but then what do we do with these standalone films is kind of what I'm interested in.
So what standalone? Educate me. What standalone films are there outside of Rogue One and the Han Solo thing?
Right. So Rogue One and Han Solo have been announced. For a long time, there was going to be a third film. A third film was announced. A third standalone film. Star Wars Stories, they're calling them. They used to be calling them anthology films. And it was the strong rumor was going to be Boba Fett, and now it's just not being talked about.
Yeah.
So they've also made statements. I think it was Bob Iger who said, we want a movie out every year. They want to make it, at least money-wise, Marvel. And why wouldn't they? Why would a company as huge as Disney go like, let's take 5-6 years off and bring Star Wars back? That's their tradition. But money-wise, they don't want to do that. So the question is sort of, how much of Marvel's model are they going to adopt? Because they want to keep putting movies out.
And I think that's the big difference, is that Marvel can put out 2 or 3 movies a year because they're so completely different from each other. Captain Marvel is going to come out the same year as what's coming out 2018. It's
Black Panther.
I want
to say
those will be completely different movies, like wildly different, except the fact that they are both Marvel characters. But Star Wars, unless you start really branching off from what has been the established brand, will always feel similar, and so you can't do too much of it, or you'll burn out your audience.
Well, and it also feels like, at its core, at its base, and I think this is something similar to what you were saying. Star Wars is an event; it's a story. Marvel is a character, and the film is defined by that character. So you've got like Captain America and the Winter Soldier. That's a political thriller. This one coming up with Civil War is a psychological thriller, and that's all coming out of the character of Steve Rogers. You know. Guardians of the Galaxy was like a space saga, but it was mostly Peter Quill's story, and him like finding a new family in space and stuff like that, So I think that's the biggest difference, and I think that would be the hurdle that Star Wars, like as a that's yes, that is a hero's journey, but it's not. I don't feel like it's so much about Luke. It's about the Resistance and them fighting, the Empire. Luke is the spearhead for that. He's a giant aspect of that. But so is Han Solo, so is Leia, so is Chewie. Like, all these other characters mean a lot inside of that universe.
Right.
So I feel like that's gonna be the trick. Is that nailing down the Star Wars films and having them be the event stuff, and then finding ways to do this more character-based stuff. But it's got to be a one-shot. It can't be its own giant big thing that you have to go watch in order to understand Episode 9.
Have you guys read any of the Star Wars Marvel comics? Any of the individual character series?
I've read a few.
So in that vein and going along that line of splitting off into the characters, do you think that adaptation of the Marvel format could work as a film? Because we're already getting Han Solo as that reverse engineering of Avengers 2 Solo sort of a thing.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're already playing with it.
Well, but again, it's a difference, and it stems from because it's all transmedia.
Yeah,
and I've done
that word.
I've done a lot of work in transmedia in different forms, and the big difference is just how you approach it. And Marvel is dealing with characters that people love, and that's the thing, is that each one has its own audience base, and the reason people are going to see Guardians of the Galaxy, the fans that are your core audience, are because they love this format, and they know, and it's different because you've developed it over a series of years. But Star Wars, you love the world of Star Wars, and so the only way that you can really do these expansions out is to introduce people to them in the core movies, or even the solo films a little bit, and then sort of build out from there. But it is as opposed to several trees coming out of the ground and then growing together into a vine. It's one big tree and then branches splitting off.
Right, exactly. It's the background. And I think as I'm hearing you guys talk about it, I'm realizing how strong my bias is, that my belief is not, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? How Star Wars and Marvel are different, but my belief is Disney is going to make this happen because it's going to make the most money.
I don't care what you say!
So interpret the rest of these questions in terms of, assuming that Disney is for sure going to try to make Star Wars into Marvel, what are some ideas that you guys as Marvel fans know what's the best way for them to do that, assuming that they are for sure going to?
And I think you guys already touched upon it, because each each individual Marvel film is a genre film, but Marvel's take on it using this character in the forefront. What characters do we have, and what types of movie have we not seen? Because you could easily go, oh, Rogue One and Ant-Man, they're both heist movies. But from what little we know about Rogue One, they're not going to be the same tone, because Ant-Man was funny as hell. So what can they do to maybe not necessarily lighten the tone, but play more in that world?
Yeah, what genre of Star Wars film would you like to see? If you could just wave your hand and get any brand new genre to Star Wars, what would you guys like to see? What would excite you to go to the theater?
I would actually love to see a Star Wars political thriller. I know that sounds weird, but a straight up comedy. I'm a comedy guy. I love making comedy, but that's not necessarily what I would see from Marvel. Comedy aspects for sure, but not a straight up sitcom or comedy film.
Though there are 2 in development for ABC.
They will make anything for money.
Oh, but in Marvel, not in Star Wars. I was like, what?
But you can argue that the Freemaker Adventures is going to be very comedic because it's Lego. So
it's Lego.
So you'd like to see a political thriller?
Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
Matt, what would you like to see?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, the thing I loved. What I loved about the prequels was their attempt to do the politics of that universe.
Right.
And love them or hate them, I feel like that's what they were trying to do. I feel like they missed the mark on that. I wish that, and I would really like to see, maybe not like a political thriller, but like just like the politics of the universe. Like I really just like, I don't know, again, like I don't know if it's a political thriller, but like, I just want to see like a day in the Senate almost, like what's going on.
C-SPAN?
Yeah, almost,
the West Wing.
Yeah, like West Wing of Star Wars. Like,
with
that would
Mon
be
Mothma as the lead. Dude, because in Lost Star she takes over the Republic Senate. I would like that a lot.
Yeah, right. Like that would actually be really cool to see like
really
the inner workings of the Senate, how they work with like what are like the political factions. Like I think that would be really cool to see. I don't think we're gonna see that. I think that's gonna be like mixed aspects into like the sagas.
But yeah, because again, it comes back to the way that you view, the way that you ingest Star Wars is. That could be a lot of fun, except when do you set that? Because if you set it in the past, the stakes are really low. Because Star Wars is explosive. Like, the big shifts in Star Wars are not, oh, this bill got passed and people can't do this thing anymore. It is, the universe is controlled by a different group. And if you know that, if it's before Force Awakens, let's say, you know what's coming, and so it loses all stakes because
I don't think that's
up.
entirely true, because like Captain America is set in World War II, and that movie had plenty of stakes because it introduced us to this other narrative running under the other Marvel movies that we didn't know about. That's not the main threat.
And in Star Wars Rebels, like we arguably know what's going to happen before Episode 4 happens, and that gives us stakes of who's going to live and who's going to die.
That's fair.
And how are they going to maintain? What else are they going to do to build the rebellion up to the point that we're familiar with? And how much longer are we going to see these characters alive? I mean, Darth Maul's been alive for years despite dying in a movie.
Yeah.
So.
I would also love to see like a road trip.
Oh, nice. A space road trip? Yeah,
a space road trip, like what they're trying to do with like Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, that's
like,
the rumor of Thor Ragnarok. There's going to be a Thor Hulk road trip. So who would you like to see road tripping together?
Like a Bing Crosby road trip? Is that what we're going to? Like road to? Okay.
Like road to Baghdad, but road to Mos Eisley.
Okay.
In my head, that's what the Solo film is.
Yeah.
Is Han and Chewie like on a road trip through the galaxy.
I feel like it's going to be them like meeting. Because we had Chewie in the prequels. I feel like it's going to be post prequels, pre New Hope.
We'll see.
It's going to be life debt.
Yeah, how the life debt comes to be.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
The next book in the Aftermath trilogy is called Life Debt. So rumor has it that it's going to involve them going back and liberating Kashyyyk from the Empire.
Here's the Star Wars movie I want to see.
Whoa.
Here's what I want to see. Like an Indiana Jones type adventure film where they've just discovered like a new cache of kyber crystals, or what is that? What they're called? Kyber crystals.
Yeah.
And they're rare. They don't know where they are, but there's this one cave and this one planet, and that's hard to get to. And like it's just like a race to that. Like
that'd be cool.
Like that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
right?
I think in general that's the smaller personal stories will be good.
I would love to see an adventure film. That's my vote.
I think that's a great answer. Here's another speculative kind of question for you. I think one of the great things that Marvel has done is certainly they've used characters that fans know, but they have defied expectations by using characters that only fans know, and sometimes only deep fans know. And as a result, they have made the super weird palatable and even a strength. Now, Star Wars is already weird, but what kind of movies could Star Wars make that are just incredibly strange to prove we can do anything? How can they make Star Wars as strange as Marvel?
If they really, if I want to believe that Star Wars can do anything, to me, because Star Wars is already super weird.
Yeah.
They have to pull off, and I know I argued against it a second ago. They have to pull off a comedy.
Okay.
Because again, that's what Marvel did when we realized like they can do anything. It was Guardians.
Guardians
was all of a sudden like, whoa.
Right.
Anything, they could literally do anything with this world, and we'd be in.
And then we also got Ant-Man, which was pretty similar in tone.
Because that's the thing is that like Star Wars to just look at is weird. It is weird. So if you tried to go deeper down that rabbit hole, it just like I think it'd be you'd be going too far at that point.
Remake the Labyrinth in the Star Wars universe as Jonathan from the booth. That's just his favorite movie.
Labyrinth it's a good movie. It's a fun movie. I would love to see that too. But
It's all tied together with Muppets. Like,
I would want to see, and this kind of goes along with what we were talking about previously, is go into where we're seeing it now in the Marvel universe. We got to get that Doctor Strange level of mysticism.
Yeah,
we got to get
that's what I was
that
thinking.
ancient Jedi ways and all of the classic ways of how the Jedi were first started. And if we can get that deep into lore and everybody's still super like, no, I'm in, I'm totally in, I think that would be another way that they could be like, cool, they're super weird, I super get it, there's all these weird caco demons, I know that's Doom, but it just, all this weirdness, but I'm super in.
I want to mark it. I think it took 45 minutes into a podcast with Matt Key for Doctor Strange.
I wrote it down.
It wasn't even Matt.
No, but that's what I was thinking. I was like, how could we get like a mystical Jedi kind of thing? Like that would be cool. Like, and then Utah, I was like, yes.
There are Force witches in Clone Wars, so we could have all of the kind of more obscure characters from Expanded.
I would also love to see like not like a flashback, but like going to the old Republic, like I think that could be kind of weird too, you know, like that the first Jedi temple, like what's the story there? Like that's probably
there's your perfect
out
in,
there, you know,
and going back that far into that Knights of the Old Republic story, which is one of my favorite video games. That's a way that you can do all of these stories in the Marvel universe. Oh my god, I did it again. In Star Wars universe, it's just a word. It's just a string of words around universe. I'm used to saying.
And you're sitting next to me, so that doesn't help.
Exactly. In the Star Wars universe, it's a way you could do it. Keep the stakes high because there's so many years in between that you could blow up the galaxy and still arrive at Star Wars.
You know what another weird one would be? Maz Kanata, just following her for the 1,000 years that she's been alive.
We've been talking about that for the past couple of weeks. Like even,
that would be.
I just want her in a bar telling
weird.
stories. That's what I want the Netflix series to be. Is her going, dude, this one time 400 years ago, and then boom, flashback. And
so let's I totally agree with that. So let's go back to what we know for sure. We know that they're doing Han Solo. We know when that takes place. We know he is young, so it's before A New Hope. We don't know if it's 2 years. We don't know if it's starting out with Han Solo in diapers. We don't know exactly, but we know generally where it takes place.
It's baby geniuses, but with Han Solo.
Han Solo, exactly right.
I was picturing Muppet babies. But
and then we know that we have Rogue One. We know exactly where that falls. It's basically right before A New Hope. I feel like one of the things that Marvel did is introduce MacGuffins, so fans could get very excited about tracking the Infinity Stones and things like that. With those existing movies and those existing time periods, what kind of MacGuffins do you think they could introduce to just get that same sort of Marvel sense? Because they weren't explicitly connected for a while. It was just the connecting MacGuffins.
It would have to be. See, that's the thing, is that the MacGuffins work in Star Wars, in Marvel.
You've got to get it right.
All right, take a drink, everybody. For all the folks playing at home,
I'm gonna need some whiskey.
I mean, why do you think I'm keep messing up? The MacGuffins work in Marvel because there's a certain amount of people who know what's happening and can string those things together. I don't know if you would have the same level of success because you can't tease as well. It's a payoff. It's a bigger payoff when you get there.
Absolutely tease the fans in the same way. Fans of like novels and video games and that, they know other like Sith artifacts. They know Jedi holocrons. They know things that the general public doesn't the same way. Nobody had any idea. The general public didn't know what the hell an Infinity Stone was. That was just for the fans. And I think maybe there's that kind of thing in Star Wars.
I was like one of the most popular guys at the office, like the day after Avengers. They were like, "What is going on? Who is he? What is it? What do they do? What are the stones?" Like, yeah.
That's you guys should sit down.
Let's all sit down for this.
Well, here we go.
I mean, technically, we already did have a MacGuffin. The Force Awakens was all about the map to Luke Skywalker.
Right.
So it's got to be something. But once the public starts catching on, wait a minute, it'll be a little bit more complex. And technically, R2 as well. Like, follow that droid. Something that can be easily trackable. I would say, if they go Super Marvel, it would have to be like a lightsaber crystal, like a colored lightsaber crystal, and people go, "Wait a minute, that looks like an Infinity Stone."
That would be amazing if they just directly rip themselves off. Like, we're collecting 5 differently colored lightsaber crystals.
But then think of the people who go, "But that's Infinity." They're gonna crush cross them over.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
Patton Oswalt.
They're going to blow Patton Oswalt's mind.
He will jump off of a bridge from happiness. It'll be like the first time anyone has committed like happy suicide. Like,
You heard it here first. Happy suicide.
Do you have any MacGuffin ideas before we move on to the next
man,
question?
I've got nothing. Like, I mean, Star Wars, like
that's
crystal,
fine.
like that's like it, like in my mind, if it would be like a Jedi or Sith artifact.
Yeah.
You know,
when-
like the map to Luke was good. Like I think the first temple was a really good one.
Yeah, when you
even
just said the temple, sorry.
no, go for it, man.
It got me excited because, like, the first Jedi temple. So, how many ancient Jedi temples are around, and what
lot.
what
what
ancient
does each one have?
Yeah, exactly. That's where you start building from.
And then that also brings us into that Indiana Jones idea because we got temples to
Yeah,
explore.
right. That's awesome. Like
And Jedi traps.
And one of the Jedi temples is now a bar, so we get that too. So we're covered across the board. Okay, so this one's a little bit more of a sort of deep philosophical question up to a point. This has been being discussed. I'm seeing a couple more think pieces about this. That the concept that the ongoing nature of both Marvel and now introduced in The Force Awakens, the idea that these stories are going to go on, means that there isn't a happily ever after moment for our characters. Do you guys think that does it bother you? Does that?
I don't know that we ever had like solidified happily ever after, because if you think about it, like at the end of a rom-com when people are like, oh, they fell in love and now they're together, like fast forward a year, we don't know if they're still together or not, you know, like, so like these movies almost allow us to see the happily ever after. Like they're a consistent reminder that these two characters are together, or they have still won, but now there's this other thing that they've got to fight, you know? So like it's like maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but like that's how I kind of like, that's how I kind of feel. Like Terminator 2 ends, you know, and he's like, oh, you know, like, bye. It's like, oh, but he came back, but that was a happily ever after for that movie. Like they rode off into the sunset, the road underneath their tires, you know, their car, and they survived. And then you get, you know, Terminator 3. I'm like talking in circles.
No,
now.
I understand.
that
But
makes
so,
sense.
like,
It
but for
makes
you,
sense.
as a Marvel fan, do you feel like, oh well, Iron Man had his nice resolve in Iron Man 3, and then for you, him coming back and having even more problems in life, or like, no, I just wanted to imagine Tony Stark just drinking martinis.
That's a
the
whole
rest of
other
his life.
discussion. That's
Yeah.
like Iron Man 3 sticks out to me as like actually not fitting into the Marvel universe. Like, and I don't know if that was oh man, why did I just forget
think
the director's
Shane
name?
Black.
Yeah.
I don't
Shane
know if
Black.
that was on him as the writer director, or if that was on Joss Whedon for not incorporating more of that into Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
But like that like sticks out as a sore thumb to me as like, and now I'm gonna blow up like 50 versions of the Iron Man suit because I realized I've been Iron Man the whole time. And it's like, no, that's great, but
I'm the man in Iron Man.
Like some of the last stuff I want to see in a Marvel film is Tony Stark running around with a potato gun, you know, or whatever it was that like when the little kid
Another
is
great
more,
Star Wars MacGuffin we could have.
Skywalker with a potato gun. No, it's just like what the Shane Black one like sticks out. Like that doesn't work for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like
So
the end
you
of Iron
didn't
Man
like,
2
so
works.
you didn't,
know?
so you don't like the idea, the introduction in Marvel at all of any sort of happily ever after.
I think that I think there have been plenty of happily ever afters and all of the Marvel stuff, and every single like, you know, Steve wakes up in the future and it's like, all right, well, like he's distressed, but he's still alive, you know, so like maybe it's not a happily ever after, but it's a satisfying conclusion to that story.
Cool.
Like I don't necessarily need happily ever after. I'm happy with that story's ended because I feel like that resembles more what real life is,
Yeah.
I guess. And like I know like we're going to this stuff for like mythology and fables and whatever else, but like I don't know. As long as the ending is good and the story to get there was good, I'm happy.
Cool.
Yeah,
You know?
I don't need the super happy ending. Like if it works, but don't force it if it's not going to. What Iron Man 3, where that sort of becomes the problem with these giant connected universes, is that like Tony Stark, like the good part of that ending is that Tony Stark had an arc, and he went through a 3-movie standard trilogy arc in a good way, not to
And
like,
we
say standard,
all
but
as the viewers had an arc reaction.
yeah.
Oh jeez. Get out.
But the way we
Not even my show, get out.
the way we reacted to that arc is that we knew he was coming back, so we knew his story wasn't done, and that's the thing. So you can't have finales
Right,
in,
and I think
a
that's
connected
what's
story.
new, and that's what these think pieces are talking about. Of like, is this a new thing where we're never going to let these characters go? So let me ask specifically about Star Wars. There have been some reaction that The Force Awakens bums people out because it takes away their victory at the end of Return of the Jedi, because they did all this to get the galaxy set, and then it fell apart again, and they had the trauma of the child turning against them and all that. Does that bother you guys at all?
No, like because I want to see the story move on. I want to see like the evolution of that next thing that's going to happen. And we can't have that unless the happily ever after comes to an end. Yeah. Because otherwise we just get like 2 hours of people on ecstasy. And I don't like... I've been to Burning Man. I don't need to see that as a film. So like, there's a place for that, but it's not narrative storytelling.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I feel like it's an evolution of narrative storytelling that we get to see a victory, we get to see a failure, we get to see more victories, and that's the way life really is. And it's weird and interesting to bring characters like Jedi and Iron Man a little bit closer to the way we actually live life.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
The only thing that I could think about that ending was like, not the ending, but the after the end of Jedi, like, and this is not a I wanted to sound as like a criticism of Force Awakens, because again, I enjoyed it despite any criticisms I had. Big Dobie grin. Yeah. But if the new like villains, like the First Order, had come as opposed to out of the old Empire, but had come as a result of the New Republic taking over and schisms within that, or from worlds that didn't want to be part of the New Republic, as opposed to just this is a faction of the Empire, that may have felt like less of a like stepping on the happy ending and more of a happy endings still, even if you do like in a relationship, like to go to the rom-com thing, even if you do find your perfect person, you find your soulmate, there are still going to be trials for the two of you.
No, I'm married, and we've been looking at the sunset for 10 years. It's great. It's really burning my eyes. But
sitting in bathtubs on the top of your roof.
That's right, yes. Steady diet of champagne. It's great, always.
Happily ever after is an ongoing process.
Exactly.
Like, that's the thing. It's not just and that's it. Thank you. Like,
so
you gotta keep going.
It really comes down to like the philosophy of like, how do you define what a happily ever after is? Like, is it, and the cowboy and his girl walked off into the sunset? Like, okay, but like, I kind of want to know what their next story is.
And I think maybe that's the key to what both you guys are saying about being that media now has to be more successful about what's the next story, so it doesn't feel like we're seeing the same story again. Because certainly that does happen in real life, but that's depressing. Like if you just have a friend who's like, he always gets a job and then he loses it, and he gets a job and he loses it. Like that's not fun to watch our heroes do. And I take your point about that Force Awakens can feel like that, especially since we didn't get much of the political material, that it feels like the Empire again. So maybe it feels a little too close to the same adventure, or has that danger.
It's one of those things where, like, on the surface, it like felt a little like, oh, the Empire's back. But then when you dig deeper, it's like, oh no, this is way cooler than that. Yeah. So it's a mixed feeling, sort of like a mixed bag.
And speaking to both, just media in general now, and to expecting the next adventure, if they hold off on news and press releases about, oh, don't worry, there's another season coming, like now, like next year, we're already shooting it, don't worry about it. If that comes like while we're like, we knew that we were getting 8, 9, and 10. I'm sorry, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
And for, I mean, it's a movie about trilogies, so that's one thing. But moving forward with these standalone properties, you can't be like, oh, that did well, so we're going to do another one. Because like with Daredevil and with Jessica Jones on Netflix, you're like, oh, this is great, I want another one. Oh, okay, cool, here's your other one. But I think I would be just as excited to think, oh, well, how are these characters going to show up in the other series? So instead of just going, okay, yeah, here's season 2 because cool, here's a season 2, which I'm totally happy with, and the new trailer that came out today was amazing. But if they let folks linger on, what if that was the last time we're going to see them for a while?
Yeah.
I think that would be a little bit more beneficial to the story and to the property as a whole.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point as we'll start to wrap up the Star Wars Marvel section, and I think that's kind of what it comes down to, that we're living in this era. All of us spend a bunch of time talking about media. We're in this era where we can't talk enough about media. Yep. We want to break the news right away. Companies want to give us as much as possible. And we're like, thank you, please. We want to consume it as much as possible. So to me, it becomes fascinating of like, how do you keep narrative integrity within all of that bombardment?
I think the biggest, and I know we need to wrap it up.
No, it's fine.
I think the biggest question is how do they keep our attention over the course of 10 years? And like there's got to be a bottom at some point. Like there's got to be more people willing to be like, you know what? Like I've seen like 15 years of Star Wars films. Like I kind of am burn out. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want that to be the case. But like if I see 15 Star Wars films over the next 15 years, you know, and I'm like 50 years old, and I'm just like, man, I think I'm good.
It won't be an event anymore. Certainly, it might be a different thing, but it won't be an event the way it has in the past.
It'll be like you know, I've done this with Marvel also. Like it'll be almost like a moon landing with Apollo 13. You know, where it was just like the world was like, oh, we're going to the moon again. Awesome. Okay. I was like, no, we're going to the moon. This is we have never done this, but like this is like we've done 3 times. Like this is our 4th time. You know, so I think it's kind of the same thing where like it'll eventually become a thing of like, oh yeah, no, it's another Marvel film. Cool. You know, not for me because I'm a giant super dork nerd fan. But like, you know, I think for like the general public, they'll be like, oh, it's like Captain America 5. I mean, I guess.
Yeah,
you
you got to find ways to make it new, and that's the tricky part with something that's going to be one movie after the other. So Star Wars does have to sort of slowly build outward into like other things, and I think going back into like the Old Republic, like filling new spaces in this world that don't feel connected to Empire versus Rebels, like that go outside, that will help keep it interesting for the amount of movies they seem to be implying.
Yeah. And I think they'll find a way to have the same variety that Marvel does, which is what I think is keeping Marvel alive and fresh.
Absolutely.
Brand new genres, brand new characters. Final question is less serious in this segment. If our real world was actually in danger, would you rather be protected by the Avengers or a bunch of Jedi?
The Avengers.
Yeah, I gotta say Avengers too.
We're a little bit more wider protected by the Avengers than I would say.
You son of a get off our Star Wars show.
If we're talking, if we can, well, hold on, real quick.
Oh, jeez.
But let me just say, you just say a group of Jedi. If I can handpick the Jedi,
okay,
then I'd say Jedi.
Who would you handpick?
Qui-Gon Jinn, Dooku Before the Fall.
That's the movie I want to see, the rom-com called Dooku Before the Fall.
Before the Fall. I would just think it'd be like the Saturday Night Live sketch of the Black Widow movie.
I put you on the spot. I take your point. I take your point.
In a one-on-one situation where there's like one guy we gotta fight, I might go with a Jedi. I might go with like, throw Luke Skywalker up there, throw Obi-Wan Kenobi up there. But in a world being attacked situation, the Avengers just have the variety of abilities to combat like the scale. Because the Jedi, as powerful as they are individually, they get taken out by bigger forces.
I would rather be protected by Jedi. If there is danger coming to me, I would call upon the Jedi. One of the main things that the Jedi do is just push things away, and maybe it's my own connection to. That's the best way to feel safe, is to just emotionally, physically push things away.
I feel like we got that.
So
with
does
Doctor
Scarlet
Strange,
Witch and Doctor Strange.
Force push.
Iron Man could probably create like an electromagnetic field that could do the same thing. Like, I mean, Cap has his shield of vibranium.
A pulse blast, like that'll knock that stuff away.
I knew when I asked this question it was just going to make me angry, and I was right. I was right. Thanks, guys.
We're definitely going to have a part 2 with you guys back. It's been a lot of fun.
We'll talk a lot more Marvel and Star Wars.
I would love to debate at some point whether a lightsaber could cut through the Hulk's skin.
I was just thinking that. I don't think it could. I think it would at most
write it down.
But it's light. It's not versus matter.
Okay. We're going to make this really easy. The answer is yes. Let's move on. Got to move on to our next segment. We're having a nice long show today.
All right, it's time for our favorite segment of the show, our newest segment of the show. That is Mind Probe. That is where us at Jedi Alliance listen to you, the fans of Jedi Alliance. You can go to our Facebook page, which is Jedi Alliance. Give us a like. And we put up a post every couple of weeks for the Mind Probe where you submit your questions and we talk about them live on the show. So we got some fun ones here. Let's start with Sebastian Fila, do you think Kylo Ren will have a new costume in Episode 8? Will he have a new helmet just for selling new Kylo Ren toys?
Yes.
No.
To sell new toys, there will be something different about him.
Yeah. Something different. I don't think they're gonna change his costume. Maybe lose the cape or something.
A little less ragged.
Like just a minor detail.
Yeah, I feel like
but
they're
I think
gonna-
overall he's gonna look the same.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to want to make his helmet as iconic as Vader's was, in that he's going to keep the helmet the same, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a really radically different costume and certainly a different lightsaber.
I think he'll get more ragged. I think he'll lose his humanity more and more as he goes more to the dark
and I
side.
think it fits the character too to just be like obsessive, like I'm not giving up my helmet. It's my helmet. It's cool. My
Yeah.
helmet's cool.
I don't think they're going to change his lightsaber either. I think those two things about him will remain constants because, like you said, like they want to build that as an iconic thing, and it already is.
Yeah.
It already feels like when you see that tri-saber, it's just like
but if
it's
he
a
wants to
saber.
grow up and be a big boy, he needs to get a lightsaber that works. And I think.
Well, maybe it'll evolve to that.
Yeah.
Bonus
Yeah.
question: will we get an official undercover boss costume of Kylo Ren?
Like in the movie?
Yeah, no, like just as a toy, like just as like the UPC
Not an official.
release.
Yeah,
Not
if
an
they
official.
put
Oh
out
my
a
gosh.
radar technician Matt action figure before my damn Luke Skywalker action figure, I'm gonna be so pissed.
I mean, it'd be funny. Like you could just name a radar technician Matt and put it out as like a radar technician.
Yeah.
Or just don't even name him. Just put out radar,
Radar technician?
technician and like it's a little.
Put him out.
I have a friend, Ginny Newman, who is actually like putting that costume together for me to wear at Comic-Con.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like
Since
that wig and all with your hair poking through.
Yep,
Oh,
she's already got like
fantastic.
some of the pieces, and it's gonna be ridiculous.
That's great.
All right, our next question is from David Badrov. Does the Millennium Falcon now belong to Chewie or Rey? Chewie was Han's friend and co-pilot of the Falcon for about 40 years. I think it should be Chewie's. However, I feel like at the end of TFA it was implied that the Falcon now belongs to Rey. I can accept this if after Han's death Chewie was freed from his life debt, then a stormtrooper shot at him, Rey pushed Chewie out of the way, meaning now he has a life debt to Rey.
So yeah, this is a question and a lot of backstory.
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
felt it was
potential
necessary
backstory.
to include that.
Absolutely,
and
it's a
our
nice
next question,
complex
too.
question.
But do you think the Millennium Falcon belongs to Chewie or Rey?
I had that question at the end. Also,
Chewie.
like
It's gotta be Chewie.
I feel like it's gotta be Chewie. Like, but he's a co-pilot. I think he enjoys being co-pilot, which is why he was like, which means like Rey, take it.
He's
you know?
retired now, so he doesn't really want to deal with the whole piloting.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah,
you go ahead."
he's used to being a co-pilot. I'm sure he can pilot himself. I think at this point, it's finders keepers when it's been this lost that long. That I think Rey and Chewie share it.
I think when Han and Chewie boarded the Millennium Falcon once again, it just retroactively went back to their ownership. I think Chewie has first dibs.
Yeah, he's got dibs. Chewie has dibs.
Chewie
Was
has
looking for
dibs.
dibs.
Whether he wants to give it up to Rey, that's I think debatable, and he may give it to her.
Yeah, I think
But-
this is a lesson that the film can teach us in sharing. I don't think Chewie and Rey are going to want to go different places. I think they are going to form a bond, if it's
Yes.
a literal life debt,
Yeah.
or just the bond of Han loved this girl and Chewie saw it, and yeah.
And he has her best interest at heart. I also think like Chewie and a few other characters who are like in touch with the lore and everything of the world. I think they can sense that there's something special about
Absolutely.
Rey. So I think that there's a part of Chewie that's like, which is like, I've got to protect this girl.
I don't know if I can beat that, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Our next question comes from Jake Gomrick. I feel like all the evidence people put forth for Plagueis being the true identity of Snoke is really just a bunch of Snoke and mirrors. It's all...
Heyo!
Hey, it was all kicked off. I wrote that, pun intended.
Yes.
It was all kicked off by Rey's staff, which only appeared on one Plagueis figure and was never actually in a Plagueis story. Is there something there that I'm not seeing, or is this just a giant theory, a bunch of hopeful fans looking for anything to justify their hopes for Plagueis to make an on-screen appearance? So is there anything?
Well, there is the additional connection of the music that is being used in Revenge of the Sith is the same music as when we are first seeing Snoke. So, and that could just be a connection to here is the dark side. I think the deep desire for it comes from two places. I think that Darth Plagueis just sounded tantalizing in Revenge of the Sith. His novel, which is now not canon, was although some of it are back in canon, was really tantalizing. So I think people are just hungering to see more of this exciting character and to have The Force Awakens tied back to all of the deep roots of Star Wars, like the old Republic-y kind of stuff. I think people just really want that.
So it goes to the
wait,
marvelization of it.
So wait, the question is Snoke Darth Plagueis?
Yeah. So a lot of the fans are putting forth a lot of different theories, from the Legends, which is the non-canon previous material, as well as just minor touches from characters. Like Rey's staff looks like a staff that was included in an old Darth Plagueis action figure. So people saw that and just went, "Oh my God, it's that thing from that toy!" But it was never like Darth Plagueis and his staff. It was never really a thing.
His lightsaber is referred to as having a really long hilt in the book as well, so you could interpret that. But yeah, I think it was one of the early things that commentators latched onto. One of the early, like, I picked out something amazing from this film, and it kind of built to what it was being discussed a lot. And then the staff was just like, Rey uses it to hit people. And there was nothing revealed, at least in The Force Awakens.
I think it would be really cool if he was. I don't think he is. Maybe he knew him, and maybe there will be a reference to it when we meet Snoke. But I don't think that I don't think they're one and the same.
Yeah, I mean,
that's kind of the feeling that I get.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I know enough about it to really like throw him, but from what I've heard here, it feels like it's like. It's a reach of a connection that I don't think they are digging so deep into as far as major characters are concerned to like former expanded universe. Like if Snoke was a book character, like solely a book character, then I would say, yeah, maybe. But the fact that he's a big on-screen villain, I think they're not going to tie to such a publicly unknown character.
Interesting.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Good with that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I think there's going to be something more with Snoke than just like, he's a mean guy who knows the Force too.
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be some more.
Yeah.
There's got to be a little bit
Just
behind.
something
I will
more
say
tied to
that
what we
the
know.
theory that I have for Snoke is that he is very similar to Yoda, and that he's very tiny.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's overcompensating with the size.
Exactly.
I think so too.
Where like
Yeah.
Yoda was like, no, I accept how tiny I am, and rise above that, he's like, I'm tiny, I must be imposing. Like it's
no one will take me seriously.
What if he's one of Yoda's people who lost his ears? I don't know.
And that's part of the reason why. Part of the reason why he's so disfigured. That could do it. Or he like put on a helmet and it chopped off his ears. Our last question comes from Dark Monica. Don't look into it. In the Star Wars Rey's Survival Guidebook, it's learned that the X-Wing helmet she wears belongs to a Captain Dosmet Rey. Rey spelled R-A-E-H. This has led to a new theory that Rey is a taken name due to memory loss. Do you think this theory has weight? And what would you want her real name to be? Because in the prequel book, I already forgot the name of it. I want to say Road
Before
to
the
Force,
Awakening?
Before the Awakening. I want to say Road to Force Awakens, which is a terrible, terrible name. Don't use it unless you want to use it. Then call me. But
Road trip, man.
She refers to herself as Rey.
Right.
And it's like, I'm known as Rey. Or in a similar language.
I think this
So-
is all smoke and mirrors for sure. Myself. I can see why people would think, oh, she might have been left on the planet with a fake name. I like the name Rey. We've all invested in the
I
name
think so,
Rey.
too.
There's the mystery of what her last name is. And I just think kind of in the history of Star Wars canon, changing a name is not necessary to hide someone.
But
as we've learned with Luke Skywalker
Fair play.
not having his name changed.
Well, here's the fun moment that I think you can get from the movie is you can get, no, this is who you really are. And it's like, no, I'm Rey. That's what I've been my entire life, and that's what I'm going to continue to be.
Right, then maybe she does have another name, but this is the name that
This is the
she
name
has
that she
decided
chose
is hers.
because that is her
Interesting.
identity that she's been building up over the years.
I think
like
that's interesting. I haven't heard that. I like it though. I think that would
There's
be
a
really
lot of
cool,
smaller
yeah.
books here and there that people are going, wait, what theory? So it's not surprising.
It sounds. I mean, I think the revelation that helmet has a name attached to it that is not Luke Skywalker kills a lot of people's theories that I've heard.
Yeah, those were quick, I think, tenuous
quick.
connections. Yeah, because there's no reason to. There was nothing in the movie to suggest that was Luke's.
I just have heard it so many times
Yes.
from people in the arguments because I'm I'm arguing for the Kenobi connection to Rey.
Yeah.
Mark's heard this before.
I love that band. I saw them at the Cobalt a couple weeks ago.
Kenobi
Connection.
So like, I mean, if she was gonna have another name, that's one I would attach to her.
Hey.
But I mean, I don't know. It's a cool. I love the theory.
Yeah.
But I like Mark's thing. Like if they're going to give her because we don't know her backstory. Something is up with her backstory.
Yeah.
So if it's something besides Rey, I think we're not going to change her name as far as we're concerned. They did it on S.H.I.E.L.D. It's super confusing.
Oh yeah, Daisy.
Yeah. Cool. Any final thoughts?
Nope, that's just a theory. A Rey theory. That was the Mind Probe. Make sure to go to what is the show called? Make sure to go to Jedi Alliance. We're sitting across from Marvel Movie News, so it's been confusing. Much like Zach confusing the two franchises.
Look, man, this cup's empty now.
Go to Facebook, hit up Jedi Alliance, give us a like, and submit your questions to Mindprobe. Joseph?
And now we're going to move on to Duel of the Fates with our exciting dramatic music. Every week we ask a question, we debate it a little bit, and then we also put it on Facebook to get you guys' opinions. Last week our question is, would you rather be stranded on Jakku or Tatooine? So quick answers from you guys. Matt? Tatooine. What, do you have any logic behind it?
There's a bar there that I know about.
Nice.
Tatooine,
Zach?
yeah. There's a bar and like towns. All we've seen of Jakku is a crashed Star Destroyer and a port where you can trade pieces of it for small bread portions.
See, this is the way many people answered, and no one remembered that Lor Santeca has a nice little village. Seems nice enough that there is actually another location on Jakku.
But the trick there is everybody's dead now, so
yeah, I mean,
there's nobody to hang with.
So yeah, the rent's really cheap on Jakku. But
limited alcohol in supply. Yeah,
right.
Okay.
Access, so you might be able to get alcohol, like if you found that on one of the Star Destroyers, but you'd be drinking alone.
Yeah.
You'd be drinking alone, and the chances that you're going to find that after the Star Destroyer's been there for how long and been scavenged for how long, it's...
Maybe there's some space whiskey that's just aging real nice.
Aged real nice.
So most of the people who answered...
Hooch.
It's blue
Turner
whiskey.
and Space Hooch.
That's milk. That's milk. Don't
It can be
confuse them.
whiskey too. Two things can be blue.
No. You're making me so mad, Zach. First you were wrong about the Hulk and lightsabers.
First you were wrong. And now you're wrong about this. Get out!
I kid. I'd be happy to drink blue alcohol milk. The majority of people on our Facebook poll agreed with you guys that Tatooine, they remembered all of the sites we've seen of Tatooine. It made me sad that almost no one wants to hang out with Lor Santeca or in his destroyed village. We'd like to read a couple comments. Here's some comments and justifications that people gave. Nolan Ciron said, as a 40-something with a family, I'd pick Tatooine because it's more family-friendly. At least more than Jakku. There appears to be more employment opportunities, and you can build a nice sand igloo with the myriad of underground tunnels and additions without increasing your property taxes because the improvements aren't plainly visible from the outside. So Nolan, great answer.
It's a very adult answer.
You would really like to live on Tatooine because you can hide your income from the government. I think that's great.
And your space hooch.
And your space hooch.
Well, here's the
Space
question:
Hooch.
with Luke's intense connections to Tatooine, were they then brought into the New Republic when the New Republic was formed?
Tatooine?
Yeah.
I don't think Luke cared about that kind of thing. I don't think he.
just
No,
saying,
guys,
I don't
think
they
he's a-
need representation.
I don't think he's a big Tatooine advocate.
No
by any
moisture
means.
farm
No.
taxation without space representation.
I think no matter how peaceful or zen Jedi Luke ever got, he'd like F Tatooine.
Yeah. He wasn't like holding like a 13-segmented like snake on a flag. Like, don't tread on Tatooine.
All right, we got one more quote here to read. Stephen Kelly was one of the few people who voted for Jakku. Stephen Kelly said, Jakku, random Millennium Falcon just sitting around waiting to be stolen. Don't care about pod racing or cantinas, just want the Millennium Falcon. The garbage will do.
It's a good answer.
Yeah, so
That's a
those
great
are
answer.
two great answers from Stephen and Nolan. One deeply thought out tax evasion, and the other just clear motivation. I want the Falcon. Here's this week's question. We're running short on time, so we should
Very
get
serious question here.
This week's question is: who wore the jacket better, Finn or Poe? So we'll start with you, Matt. Who do you think actually looks better in the jacket? Who does it suit more?
Finn. I like it better on Finn.
It's Finn. It's almost like it was cut to be part of his vision, his image for the next 3 movies or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As if, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say Finn for a couple of reasons. I think, one, because Poe is just going to look good in anything. He doesn't need that jacket to
That
look
is
good.
true.
He can
That
look
is
good
true.
in absolutely anything. And I also just think Finn needed that jacket so bad. He needed that sense of identity of I am something different than a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
And I think he wears it with such pride of, I'm the new Finn.
Yeah.
New and improved Finn.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Poe himself says, you look better in that jacket, it suits you.
Yeah.
It's got to be Finn. But I think that might be something that Poe's dad may have handed out to him. Or
Oh, yeah, it
something
could have
where
a
it's
deep
familial.
connection.
It could be a deep connection, but that could make it even cooler that Finn has that jacket and that Poe's okay with it. Because it's like, you know what? I see you remind me a lot of my dad, which is weird and kind of sad, in a good way. And like, oh, it's so beautiful. But yeah, I gotta go with Finn.
Okay, I will be fascinated to see if you guys out there in the audience are all Finn across the board and just leave poor Poe out.
I think orange really brings out Poe's eyes.
Yeah, but we'll be posting this on Facebook
eyes.
tomorrow. This question, we're always interested to hear your answers and your reasons behind them. Thank you so much for contributing to Duel of the Fates, guys. We're going to wrap up. Do you guys have any final thoughts on the kind of intersection between Marvel and Star Wars, and going from that assumption that Star Wars is going to do it no matter what? Any final thoughts or observations?
No, I mean, I'm excited to see them. I'm going to consume them, but I can't really add any.
But there's nothing that Star Wars is going to do to drive you away for the foreseeable future.
Bring back Jar Jar. I wouldn't stick around for that, but even Darth Jar
Still love that theory.
That is a great theory. But even if they did, I have faith that they would handle them well.
That they're going to execute it well. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, I have faith in Kathleen Kennedy as the overseer of Star Wars. I think that both companies are going into murky waters in terms of overloading an audience.
Right.
Because especially now Disney is putting out these two properties that are both putting out such great content that I just don't have time to consume it all. It is you can get stuck real quick and lose your audience real quick if you overdo it. I think one Star Wars movie a year with all the books and potentially TV shows coming in to support it or build off of it is great. I think that they should, because that'll help them also keep making them as good as they can be without spending tons of money on graphics for 3 Star Wars movies a year.
Yeah.
Because we definitely need to keep Star Wars in the public eye. Because there's no way that people are going to remember Star Wars year in and year out.
You just don't want to get people sick of it, because then that's when you're like, well, we're only going to give you $20 million for this movie, which in 2050 is giving you $50,000.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think we're in any danger of that, but I think it's fascinating that we're in a place where the risk of there can be too much good geek stuff, how does that get handled? That's a fascinating, interesting place to be. Thanks for talking to us about it this week. Matt, can you tell people where they can find you and anything you want to plug that you got coming up?
I don't have anything I want to plug. I do the Marvel movie news on this same network. That's on Thursdays at 1:30 Pacific Standard Time. Then I also produce the Fat Man on Batman podcast with Kevin Smith, which is fun. Those are supposed to come out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But Kevin Smith is a busier man than anyone, I think, realizes.
Yeah.
And people, I think, by that I mean, people realize he's busy. He's far busier than that. If you're just like, I bet that Kevin Smith is a busy man, he's busier than that. But we do try to get those out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I'm at the Matt Key on Twitter.
Awesome. Zach?
On Twitter, Instagram, all those places, that Zach Wilson. Also now on YouTube. I just launched my own YouTube channel. Really just started out. 3 videos up so far. But I'm trying to get my goal for the year is I'm going to be putting out weekly stuff where I'm talking about television. Hopefully by the end of the year I'll be up to that pace, and I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. And also as the voice of Doom. On Marvel Movie News, and on AfterBuzz, talking about all kinds of television.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And we got Daredevil coming up in
me and Mark.
Man.
We'll be talking that all day.
We'll be talking about the trailer on Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Right now, the only thing in my head is, ever since you brought up Muppet Babies, now I just think the Emperor has those blue and pink striped socks, or green and pink striped socks under his robe.
That's what Mark wants to plug.
That's what I want to plug.
Think about the Emperor's under things.
You can find me on Twitter at Mark B. Donica. Today, the B stands for Benicio. This Thursday, we're going to be talking about the RWBY season finale for Volume 3. Hell of a season. We're going to have the creators on. If you're a fan of Rooster Teeth content, make sure to follow me. We got a whole bunch of stuff coming up for the off-season, too. Joseph.
Awesome. You can find me on all the social medias as at Joseph Scrimshaw. You can also find my other podcast, Obsessed, on feralaudio.com or my website, josephscrimshaw.com. The most recent episode of Obsessed, this is going to shock you, is all about The Force Awakens. We spend a lot of time talking about Poe and Finn's jacket.
If I had a hat, it would be blown off.
So if you like Poe and Finn's jacket talk, Talk. This is a good time to check out Obsessed. You can also find on my website where I'll be doing live shows. The next kind of big live show, I've always got little shows here and there in Los Angeles, but the next big thing is I'll be at Wizard World in Las Vegas in March. I'll be doing a couple different panels and a stand-up show about all kinds of different geek things. All that information on my website at josephscrimshaw.com. Thank you for watching and or listening to Jedi Alliance. You can visit popcorntalknetwork.com to find a nice list of all the past episodes of Jedi Alliance and links to both YouTube and iTunes. Please also follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Jedi Alliance for all the us-related news. This has been Jedi Alliance on the Popcorn Talk Network. We talk movies. Thank you for listening, because many Bothans died, perhaps killed by the Hulk or Yoda, to bring us this information.
Yuck.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Spitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed here are those of the hosts only.